Hi, guys. Welcome to the Nuance Diaries, where I say the things people are thinking but not often saying, and try to make my vulnerability a permission slip for yours. And I'm just going to jump right into it. I started writing this the other night, and like it so often does, the news and the world has changed in the short time since I started writing this. I'm going to start with a story. So it is 2018, and I am a recent college graduate. I think, I'm 23 years old. My friend Catherine and I, we were best friends in high school, decided to take a little trip to Montreal just for fun. And we've never been, and it seems like a really fun idea. She knows French. It'll be a cool thing to do. And we're in New York City, so it's a short flight. We get on the plane early in the morning. It's a very, full flight, and I remember it being really hard to, get our overhead storage and, pour things in our seats. It was a short flight. It's fine. And getting on the plane with our passports, whatever. We got the plane. We're in Montreal. It's still very early. I think we arrived around, 8 or something. We get to customs, nice and easy. And we're about to, show our passports to the gate person. And I can't find mine. And I know I have it because I wouldn't have been allowed on the plane without it. We checked it at, coming into the airport at New York, and then they checked it again at the gate. So I know I have it. I got on the plane with this passport. I know that. But I don't have it now. I'm looking everywhere. And remember, it's 2018. So Trump was sworn in for the first time. The inauguration and the election was my senior year at Vassar. So that was in 2016. And then he was inaugurated in January 2017, I guess, math. And I think, it must be, okay, so it's been 2 years of this presidency. I'm trying to think, was it 2017 or 2018? But I think it was 2018. I think it had to be 2018. So either way, we are a year or two into this first presidency. And I am in a different country. I'm in Canada, and I don't have my passport. I'm 23 years old. And I'm just oh my God. And I immediately start freaking out. I have what I now know was a panic attack. My friend, thankfully, a little more level-headed than me, and was okay, make sure you're, download, make sure you have, your WhatsApp on or whatever on. She made sure we had a way to communicate, because what was going to happen next that she would go through with her passport, and the people were kind enough to let me run back to the gate to see if I could check the plane for my passport. So I run back to the gate. I don't even really remember where we got off, but I'm just running with my bag, and I'm probably crying at this point too. I get back to the plane. And they're we've already searched the plane. The plane's been emptied. We can't look, and it's not there. And so now I'm really freaking out. And so I'm walking back, and somebody is going through the airport with one of those bigger, things they use for luggage and people with disabilities. And it's an airport worker. And he offers me a ride back to the customs. And it's not that far, but it's still very kind of him. And I am now at this point bawling. And I'm they're going to deport me. They're going to deport me. I don't have a passport. They're going to deport me. Because I had watched, all the different bans happen with international students. And it feels like a lifetime ago, but the crackdown that was started during the first administration. And this very kind Canadian, airport worker was just where are you from? And I'm New York. And he was okay, so where are they going to deport you to? I'm to Africa. And he was huh. So, my daughter's in New York, and he's trying to distract me because I'm like hysterical, and he's just trying really hard to be this nice, lovely Canadian man. So I get back to the customs. I see my friend beyond, just waiting for me, again, so kind. I tell them the situation. They give me a slip of paper, and I have to go to the office, like, of customs and whatever, to tell them and sort of whatever the situation is. And I go through sort of the gate, and my friend is now with me. I tell her what's going on, and I'm in a deep state of panic. I'm still just, like, really freaking panicked. And then I go to this office, and I guess they ask me more questions, and it's all, above board-ish, and it's all in public. I'm not taking any rooms, thankfully. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to have you go to this, like, help desk and see if, they found it, or, like, if they're, maybe the plane turned it in. And so now we go to this desk, and I'm just, like, really freaking out. We haven't even gotten our luggage yet. We're just, like, still looking at my passport. And I get to the desk, and I'm like, hi, my name is Alexa Jordan. I was on this plane. And the guy goes, oh, Alexa, yeah, we have your passport. We had to call you. You didn't answer. Here it is. Because in all this time I'm running around, they had found the passport when they cleaned the plane out and called me. But I obviously did not check my phone because I'm running around freaking out that I'm going to get deported. And it was just the best moment of my life. And I was so relieved. And in the same breath, he was like, oh, and I think the baggage is still coming out. They might have lost some of them. I was like, I don't care. I do not care. It is fine. And you should have seen me on the way back to New York a couple days later. I was, like, holding my passport the entire flight, the entire time. So I used to say the moral of that story is, if you're going to lose your passport, do it in Canada because they're very nice. But here I am now, and it's like January 98th. And for whenever you listen to this, I guess, Minnesota is still being terrorized by ICE. Many people across this country have been terrorized by ICE. I woke up and a friend said, if you don't want to, like, be upset, like, the news is really upsetting today. I was like, well, yeah, no shit. So I checked it, and I saw that Don Lemon had been arrested, along with some other Black journalists. And that hit really hard. And I'm really afraid for him as a journalist, as a Black gay man. And I'm scared for the other journalists as well. I'm scared for Liam Ramos. I'm scared for the families who have watched their loved ones be killed. And I realized last night, before any of this happened with the journalist, I'm finally afraid for myself. I think we sometimes push and we push and we push, and I at least really try just to not center myself and my anxiety. And I really think, okay, well, what am I going to tell about everybody else? And how am I going to do that? I don't let myself feel what I am feeling in the moment. But what I feel is fear. I feel relatively safe here in my apartment, at the confines of my, safe, privileged New York neighborhood, and I lull myself to sleep with the false promise of safety that a double-locked door and a doorman and an elite zip code provides you. And I try my hardest not to think about what would happen if I get kidnapped while I'm, like, babysitting. But then I do. And I, again, don't think about myself. I think about this child in my care, and how would they understand the gravity of the situation? Would they think that I'd been kidnapped, or that I just, like, left? Would I be able to convince them to run? Would I pick them up and flee? I mostly get really terrified about what would happen if ICE took me and left him by himself on the streets of New York City, or, like, in the subway. A child with no wallet, no phone, who just watched babysitter get kidnapped. And as chilling as this is, I prefer it to the scenario where they were taking both of us, because I would so rather, this scenario where I'm trusting the kind strangers of New York over the monsters that call themselves protectors in ICE. I think about what kind of facility I would be taken to. I wonder how long I could survive without food and water after looking at the disgusting, horrible conditions people are being put in and how sick they're getting. I wonder if I would be allowed to interact with the kids separated from their parents and like cuddle them close and provide some kind of comfort. I wonder if my kidnapping would cause public outcry and if, the people in my life and the greater communities that I'm part of would, I wonder how long it would take for people to know I was gone. I wonder if I'd be released for my 31st birthday or if I would, even know. Do they have calendars in there? I wonder if I would be physically or sexually abused or, just the guards would stick to verbal and emotional and racial abuse. So much better. I wonder how many times I'd be called the N-word before lunch, even if there is lunch there. Maybe I'd die of frostbite, laying on a cold, dank, damp floor. Maybe I would stain myself with my menstrual blood and be offered a Tylenol. Maybe I would dissociate and drift off somewhere far away to ease the pain. Maybe I would replay Heated Rivalry on loop in my head and hum No Place Like Home from Wicked and soundtrack of Ragtime. I wonder, and I hope, that my ancestors would be with me. And maybe they would find a way to help me through. And if I'm kidnapped wearing the beaded bracelet that I may turn my Aunt Eileen by, would I be allowed to keep it, or would they take it like they took Liam's bunny hat? Would they rip the beads off my wrist just for fun and laugh as I cried? I also wear a bracelet I made that says worthy, and I think about getting that word tattooed to my wrist one day to remind myself of my worth. Will I forget my worth in the company of people who still think of me as 3/5 of a human being? If you don't know what that reference is, I highly encourage you to do some research on slavery and the times directly following the quote-unquote freedom of enslaved people. The same quote-unquote men who parade around kidnapping people were probably inspired by the text sent to Black women in the days after the 2024 election, stating that we had been randomly selected for cotton picking shifts. I didn't leave my house for a week. I watched The Handmaid's Tale for a week after the 24 election. I told myself I was preparing myself for what's to come. Wasn't I? I recently saw a quote that said something like, the worst kind of slavery is, and the answer was something like, prison of your mind, or not being who you are. I thought to myself, well, isn't the worst kind of slavery slavery? Plantations, concentration camps, detention centers. ICE officers are rounding up anyone and everyone, like slave catchers in Africa, like Nazi Germany. I never watched the movie 12 Years a Slave, but I saw many clips. I have a thing about not watching slavery movies because I get triggered. I did read all of the Addie books during my American Girl doll sessions as a kid. And in the first few chapters of that book, after she watches her father and brother be beaten and taken away, separated from the family, and her mother decides they have to run away before they are separated, Addie is beside herself when her mother tells her that they will be leaving her little sister Esther behind because it would be impossible to escape with a baby. They weren't reunited with Esther until book 6, 6 books later. And Addie's brother and father also found the family in that time, which I'm now realizing is a happy ending and somewhat of a fairy tale that not all families in slavery or even in 2026 are afforded. I couldn't find the energy to wash my hair today, so I decided to do my laundry and wash my dishes instead. And I'm excited to see my hair braider, catch up with her next week. But if she called me and said she wasn't feeling like safe to come or like be in public, I understand that too. And I'm watching my friends and people and just the world move around, and we're in this state of just shock and terror. And I'm thinking, aren't you so scared? I think we are. I know I am. And I think to myself, like, I want to go to yoga class and I want to be scared and have joy. I want to not be afraid to get in the subway. I want to go to a theater and support my friends, and I want to call my reps and then go get the groceries for a chili. I want to not open the news. I want to have like 5 seconds of peace before I wake up. I go to bed scrolling and watching videos of ICE brutality. I wake up, I see Don Lemon's been kidnapped, arrested, whatever you want to call anything these days. I think he was arrested, but I don't even really, my brain is so foggy. I want to take care of my self-care and my mental health without feeling like I'm betraying other people. Because if I was like in danger, which I am, and if I was in custody, I would want people doing everything they could to get me out. But I also want them to like have their sanity. But I also want to like have my sanity. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And I know that I can't, be of use to anyone if I'm not like taking care of myself too. And if I sit here and don't eat, I just eat lunch and like do my laundry and wash my hair, then I can't keep fighting and calling my reps and showing up. And I also know that it's completely fair that I am afraid to go to a protest or an area where ICE might be there. It's really scary to admit all of this to you. But I have to, because I know, I always say, I will say it until my dying day, it's a chilling thing to say right now, if anything I put into the world provides one moment of wow, me too, for anyone, which I know my work has, I'm good. I've done that. I am deeply grateful for that. And so for anyone listening who is scared, who has not been able to name that fear, who is kind of like just every single day, every moment, like, what are we doing? Like, how am I doing this? Like, how am I like just living through this? This was for you. I'm right here with you. Every second of every day, I'm right here with you. And I read somewhere, I think I listened, there were some different friends of Don's on his Instagram channel just like talking about what's going on and keeping people informed. And someone said that I don't even know, I'm going to paraphrase it, like the road to freedom can be slow, but like it goes on. And that was horribly paraphrased. I'm so sorry. But like, I do believe that this will not be the rest of our lives. I do believe my children, my grandchildren one day will look at me like, wow, you lived through that. Same way that I look at people who are older than me like, wow, you lived through that. I wish that it had stopped there and that I was not now one of the people who will be sharing those stories with my grandchildren, but alas. I think it's helpful to think about a time when it will not be like this, and to also do everything we can and also to count, breathing, and taking care of ourselves, and drinking the coffee, and washing our laundry, and laughing, and holding on to our sense of sanity as part of that. We are all doing the best we can. I was really terrified that late the other night, and I went into a Sephora to get my hair masked to do my hair. She had a Tracy Ellis Ross. Her patent products are amazing. And me and this other Black woman employee were looking at different serums, and she, at some point, I guess I told her my age, and she's like, oh my God, I thought you were like 21. And I was like, oh my God, I love you, thank you. And we had this moment of like exchanging our eye creams and talking about that, and it was really beautiful and really sweet. And I just hope that we can keep showing up for each other in the fullness of who we are. Call your reps, cry it out, tell your friends you're scared. Tell me if you want, email me, I'm here for you, my inbox is open. Support people you love, and small businesses, and fuck ICE, and I love you all so much. And thank you so much for holding space for all of this today. And I really do hope that the mission of this, that my vulnerability has been a permission slip for yours. There is no blueprint, there is no map, there is no guide on how to survive fascism in 2026. We are still in the first month of this godforsaken year. And if you're listening to this, you are here and you are doing your best. And I hope that we all keep doing that all the way home. All right, I'm gonna drink my coffee, my clothes in the dryer, and maybe go call my reps and keep checking in to see what's going on, and also take a little screen break because, God, I'm rambling. Okay. And I also will say before I go, and I shout out to Brittany Packnett Cunningham, who I just love to follow, and she did an episode with Glennon Doyle and Abby Wambach on We Can Do Hard Things this week, on what's going on in Minnesota, but also just with ICE in general, it seems. And I think I haven't listened to it yet, but it, as always, it's an amazing conversation. And Brittany is someone who I always look to for like the pulse of what's going on and actionable things I can do. And I just want to shout her out. And also to Glennon for giving her platform to like all the helpers and fighters and everyone. So that's it. I'm going to sign off. I love you guys so much, and take care of yourselves. Please take care of yourselves. Protect your people, and protecting your people includes yourselves, right? We can't want peace, safety for everybody if it doesn't include us. I want it for you. I want it for me. And I want to stop rambling. Okay. Bye.